Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back everyone. This is English course coming up with another video for this new academic year. As exams are getting closer, you should be getting ready. Writing a narrative essay is not an easy task at all. That's why this video will be the key for your success, and this kind of writing won't be a problem anymore. So please continue watching and keep focused, as you'll discover and learn how to write an excellent essay from scratch, following a clear strategy and necessary steps, starting with knowing about the topic, then moving on to the outline, making up the main part of this lesson, in addition to some useful recommendations for language choices. Not only that, you'll get some excellent writing samples to download. Check the description box and get them now. Before diving into the lesson, please don't forget to join us and hit the subscribe button. Now let's get started and find this out together. At first, let me tell you that knowing the type of topic and the main idea is absolutely essential before jumping into the writing task. I would like to ask you a simple question. What is a narrative essay? Here is the answer. It's simply a piece of writing that tells the story of a memorable experience or important life events. It can be written in the first person, I or we, or the third person, he, she, or they. The narrative essay outline and structure aren't different from any other academic assignments. This type of writing follows a 4 to 5 paragraph essay outline, an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and the conclusion. In other words, an essay outline is a way of planning the structure of your essay before you start writing. A good introduction should start with a hook. You may wonder what this hook is about. It's like trying to catch a big fish. So what is it really about then? This hook is the first sentence of your essay, and its main purpose is to catch the reader's attention. Let me give you some examples. Number 1. I had never been more anxious in my life. I had just spent the last 3 endless hours trying to get to the airport so that I could travel home. Does this hook make you want to know what happened to the narrator? I guess yes. A good hook should make the reader ask some questions about the essay. You may have thought of questions like these when you read the preceding hook. Who is the narrator and why is he or she anxious? Where is the airport? What made the trip to the airport seem endless? Why is this person going home? In simple terms, the hook makes the reader curious and willing to read more. Actually, a hook can be written in different ways. The hook can be an interesting fact about a country or city that you visited, just like this one. New York, New York, the city that never sleeps. With a population of over 9 million people, someone is always bound to be awake. Starting with a famous quotation can also be an excellent hook, such as, "A real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. Tough times never last. It feels good to be lost in the right direction." Let's finish up with another type of a hook. When I was 10 years old, I almost died in the kitchen. I stood on the deck staring at the huge waves. You notice that both statements are quite shocking and surprising to the reader who wants to know more about the writer's experience. The hook of the introduction should be followed by some background information telling the reader about the main characters, the space and time, and even the weather. I've chosen this introduction of a narrative essay telling the story of an unforgettable journey. As you notice from the beginning, we can spot the characters as well as time and space, in addition to a short description of the weather. The thesis statement is the last part of the introduction. Let's read this. Now lightning flashed across the sky, which was covered in dark clouds. As you notice, this statement does not tell the reader what happened. It's just a hint about the action that will follow later. Now I'd like you to have a look at these examples highlighting the 3 parts of a very good Introduction. This is the first introduction of A Visit to New York. Please check the last statement. A visitor could spend a lifetime there and see something new every day. We have just seen this example about an unforgettable journey. And this is another one about someone's experience in Japan, telling us that he was so excited, but little did he know that he was about to learn an important lesson. So you can make use of something similar in your writing, but do not include much details. Developing the actions or events of your story takes another necessary step to decide on the plot. The plot is basically the storyline that tells us about what happened and how it happened. This is exactly about presenting the events of the story in the order they happened. This means that each paragraph gives more information as it proceeds in time. That's why it is essential to give the reader a clear idea about how the events change using time transition words. Let me explain this in more details. Transition words are not enough, of course, as you need to make this transition meaningful. For example, after introducing characters and giving a hint about the upcoming actions in the first paragraph, you should draw the reader's attention to the rise in action, which highlights facing a problem. If you look at the first body paragraph of this story, the boating disaster, we can easily spot the problem that comes up right after the first sentence. Let's read this part. Suddenly, enormous drops of rain started to fall. This is a short sentence followed by 3 other short ones, describing a problem and leading up to the main event, which will follow in the next paragraph. At this level of actions, you can make your story sound more interesting by communicating the character's feelings and thoughts. Just like in this paragraph, the writer is trying to emphasize the feeling of fear using a variety of expressions such as, "The brothers were so scared," "The boys were trembling and frightened," "Filled them with fear," and even how they thought of what might happen later by telling us they felt like the whole boat was going to capsize. Does this build suspense and excitement in the story? Absolutely yes. Now we've come to the turning point, which is the climax. This is the most exciting part of the story, where the characters try to solve the problem. In this paragraph, although the boat kept rocking, the water kept coming into it, the boys did everything they could to keep the boat from sinking. They were also trying desperately to steer the boat safely through the waves. Please note how the writer tries to paint a picture in the reader's mind using verbs and adverbs, explaining the character's actions. After reaching the climax, a good writer would show how the action of the story starts to fall, telling us that the problem is solved and the character is not struggling anymore. In this example, the boating disaster, the writer gives us a clear description of how all of a sudden the huge dark gray clouds left the sky, the enormous drops of rain stopped falling, the lightning stopped flashing, and the thunder stopped booming. As for the conclusion in this essay, we can notice how the writer signals the end of action, as the danger of the storm was completely over and the boys were safe. Depending on the topic, you may choose to end your essay in a different way. For example, in this essay telling us about someone's experience with his first foreign friend, the writer does not only show what happened after the main event, but he or she also tells us about a lesson he learned from the experience. You can make use of this example and such like sentences to finish a narrative essay about a memorable experience which will leave the reader with a good impression about your work. Let me show you another example of a story telling us about the first time cooking experience, in which the writer tries to draw our attention to how things have changed now and how he has become much better at cooking. Again, in this example, the writer leaves us with a lasting impression about the effect of the cooking experience, which became a memory that he will never forget. Do you consider language and grammar choice as important as the outline of the essay? No doubt about this. A narrative essay doesn't make any sense without narrative tenses, which you need to learn and practice in this type of writing. These narrative tenses are the past simple, past continuous, past perfect, in addition to present tense when you choose to include someone's speech or words exactly as they said them. Here are some examples of narrative writing. Please check them out and see how narrative tenses are used in each essay. I'll leave you the download link in the description box. Using a variety of good vocabulary and good structure will certainly help you get a better mark. And in order to make your essay sound more interesting, it's important to choose synonyms of adjectives. For example, instead of writing, John is a good boy with nice ideas, you can write, John is a great boy with wonderful ideas. Other adjectives such as huge, enormous, massive, and gigantic should be used instead of the simple adjective big. Pleased, delighted instead of happy. The word scared can also be expressed in a more interesting style using frightened, terrified, or the phrase filled with fear. Using a wide variety of verbs such as wondered, screamed, and whispered instead of using said all the time is also important. Some structures can also help you improve your writing style. Simile is a very simple and useful structure which can be used to describe people or things by comparing them to someone or something else. For example, she ran like the wind. Instead of writing she ran very quickly. Or, he was as quiet as a mouse, which means extremely quiet. And it was as dark as night, meaning extremely dark. Another useful structure can also make your writing even more interesting, which is using the present or past participle. Both participles can be used to join two simple sentences into a longer one. Have a look at this. He turned on the light. He saw someone in the room. Using the present participle, the two sentences become turning on the light. He saw someone in the room. But if we join the sentences, she was worried and she decided to call the local hospital, we get worried, she decided to call the local hospital. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end of this lesson. Thanks for watching. See you next time.